are going to Coffin Bay for an oyster farm tour, which I've never been to an oyster farm. I don't know about you. And yeah, we're gonna go do that, and it's like 3 hours long. Also, today is the first day I'm using my new camera, so hopefully these videos look better. If not, then perhaps I was a bit of an oversight buying a new camera, but I'm gonna try and use it, and hopefully it doesn't run out of battery and I can actually figure out how to do it. Hey everyone, it's Stacia. The colors in this video are kind of weird because I didn't know how to correctly adjust this when I filmed everything. I fixed it as much as I could while editing, but I promise this is better in our upcoming videos. Thanks for understanding. Okay, now back to the oysters. So yeah, exciting stuff today. Let's do it. I love seafood, but admittedly, I have never been a huge fan of oysters, mostly because of the texture. But Coffin Bay oysters are famous, so I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. We chose a tour from Experience Coffin Bay, which I've linked below. The tour takes you out in a boat to visit an oyster farm, and as you get closer, you can already see all of the cages. The water looked incredible, and it was almost time for us to hop in. The oysters are kept in these tumbling cages to prevent clumping and build shell strength. They move with the tide, and as the shells bump into the sides of the cage, they become stronger. Once the boat stopped, it was time for us to get into our waders. These are worn by oyster farmers to keep their legs and feet dry and protect them from the sharp edges of the cages.
You can feel it at the back there.
I don't know if it's
Even mine, they're like a little big.
Just the wind that'll be cold. Do you mind
They feel.
weird. I feel like it's. I put it wrong. Honestly, it's actually real farmers, yeah.
In the water, we were able to get a closer look. Oh, that looks so good right now.
If they were any on the way first here,
And they stay in these little cages, and then they harvest them.
I feel like I'm gonna float up.
You feel like you're gonna float up? I know, they do feel really funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how valuable is Frank now?
The native species are called Ngazi oysters, but due to overharvesting in the 1900s, these oysters do not thrive here anymore. Pacific oysters are now farmed and favored due to their faster growing rate and natural flavor. We could also see some of the farmers working.
Coffin Bay, we don't have our native oysters here anymore until we get the reef established, but we do have 200 million Pacific oysters, which if the algae come into here, this is what it's got to get through before it can get anywhere else. So our oysters would consume it, the oysters will be fine.
Once we were back on board, our guide explained the history of Coffin Bay and their farming techniques. As the tide goes out, the cages sit above the waterline. The adult oysters can sit outside of the water for up to 12 hours, which strengthens the muscle that keeps their shell closed. This encourages the oysters to maintain freshness for longer periods of time outside of the sea, allowing for longer shipping times and commercial viability. The tumble cages and tidal exposure also produce a firmer and meatier texture, which I preferred over other oysters that I've tried, which to me felt slimy. He also taught us the safest way to shuck an oyster.
Think of your oyster as a clock face, okay? So 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. The muscle you want to cut is always located at 3 o'clock. Never moves from there. Biggest mistake people make when they try and open oysters is they hold their knife like that. So if you slip off the edge of the shell trying to get into it, you're going to have that much knife going to the palm of your hand or your fingers or any other random body part that's in the way. All you need to get into your oyster is around 5 mil of the tip of your shucker. Oyster shuckers are not sharp on the edges, so you can grab them nice and tight with your fingers, and the good ones that we use and so on here have a really defined point on them. The point is your friend. Never ever use a kitchen knife or a paring knife. Never use a sharp shucker. Don't try to say that 5 times real fast either, all sorts right. Okay, so holding it nice and short, you want to come in at 3 o'clock where the two shells meet. Where the curved shell meets the flat shell, and this bit can take a bit of practice, but normally you can see a dark line or a ridge or a bit of an overhang, something that's going to give that position away. But if you're struggling to find it, better off coming up on a bit of an angle on the flat shell than trying to come up underneath on the curved shell. So, holding it nice and short, coming in at 3, first job you want to do is just drill a little hole into that oyster. 3, and there we go. Straight in. There you go. That is absolutely the hardest part of opening a Pacific oyster right there. Oyster out in front, you want to move it backwards and forwards like so, and you want to swing your knife like a windscreen wiper. 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock, so you can cut through that muscle at 3 o'clock. And when you do, your shell is going to pop up a little bit like so. Now what you want to do, you want to make sure you've cut that muscle completely away from inside the flat of the shell. It is located just there, but don't come in shallow with your knife trying to cut it away. You risk your knife slipping out, and even that raking across the top of your fingers might hurt a bit. Come nice and deep into the shell, scraping from the 12 o'clock back to the 6 o'clock. The other one, and boom. When you get to 6 o'clock, your knife will stop. When your knife stops, turn it towards you, that'll pop the shell up for you. There's a little scar where I cut the muscle off of one side.
Everyone on the tour got to try 12 oysters at no additional cost, and to be honest, it doesn't get fresher than this.
Kill.
Our guide encouraged us to chew the oysters rather than to shoot them straight back like you usually would. Really nice though. You should try it. He doesn't like oysters, so I am going to eat 24 of them right now. But they are really good. While I normally wouldn't be interested in knocking back 24 oysters in one sitting, I genuinely enjoyed the texture and flavor of these, especially paired with lemon and hot sauce. The Coffin Bay oysters changed my perspective, so if you also aren't a fan, I still encourage you to give them a try because it's an entirely different experience. Once we finished eating, our final stop was looking for sea lions. We cruised past nearby rocks and small islands where we spotted them sunbathing or going for a quick swim. We also saw a few different marine bird species. After the tour, it was lunchtime, so we ate at Oyster HQ. This restaurant also offers an oyster tour right off the shore. The views and food here were equally incredible. Okay, so we're getting lunch at Oyster HQ, and they have oyster shots. Mine is Malibu and mango, and there is, in fact, an oyster in there. Let's see. So, thumbs up. I literally couldn't fit the whole thing in my mouth. It was very yummy. This brought my oyster count for the day to 25, which is probably more than I've eaten in my entire life combined. We just got back from Coffin Bay. We ended up leaving after we ate lunch just because we were feeling a little bit tired. It started at about 9:30 and ended at 12:30, so it was exactly 3 hours. We both enjoyed the tour. We thought it was pretty nice. I think if we were being picky, we'd say it's a little bit pricey. It's only a 3-hour tour. That being said, there are 12 fresh oysters included on the tour. Maybe that's why the price is a little bit high, but it's nice. You get to go out in the boat, spend a couple hours outside, and we really liked it, regardless of the price. This summer, I don't know if this is something they often do or if it's just like to help local businesses because of the algal blooms that have been going on, but there's like a raffle going on for South Australian residents to win $50 cash back at local restaurants. So we went to Oyster HQ and the cashback actually applies there. So that's why we ordered so much food, is because I won a $50 cashback and we knew whatever we spent, we were going to take $50 off of it. So we could order extra food for what we would normally probably pay. So that was also great. The food was really nice and the restaurant is really nice. It's pretty. It has a nice spot on the water. I don't think there's really many options in Coffin Bay from what we could see on the map. It is really small. It's even smaller than Port Lincoln. So if you're in Coffin Bay and you do the tour, then you should also get lunch at Oyster HQ. Or if you don't want to do the tour that we did and you want to do one that's a little bit less expensive, then Oyster HQ has their own little tour. It doesn't go out in a boat or anything. It's right outside the restaurant. I think they teach you probably similar information, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for coming with us. Don't forget to subscribe.